Hello again, guys. I know you're probably getting tired of this now. This is the third part and final part for tonight because we are running out of steam. But we got the first one completely done. Second one, you saw us claying up this side and reclaying the bottom, keying, or not keying, the pry points, keying on this side. So this is it for tonight. Tomorrow we'll have to work on the face because this has to be dry enough to be able to support the weight. So we'll have to do that tomorrow. So basically all we did while we were on break is this has been sealed again with the Krylon Crystal Clear or the 311 and then, or 1311, and then all of this was then sprayed with 2 coats of the 1310 dulling spray. So we have our wax, we have our sealer. So this is now moving on to, once again, the Hydrocal. So in case you missed it on the first go round, I will try to reposition this. So again, it's the same process over and over again. So this is the Hydrocal adding to the water. It's about a 2-to-1 in favor of the powder, 2-to-1. And since this is going to be for the detail coat, the print coat, we have to make sure that this is done very well. So it's going to be a creamy consistency, but a very liquidy consistency. And we're doing the dry cracked earth. We will have to use the dental agitator again to release some of those air bubbles and spray it down a little bit.
That's down here.
But it's just adding the plaster to the water. And this is Hydrocal, not plaster.
Although on the bag it says plaster. With additives, presumably.
Technically, it's like an alpha gypsum or a gypsum product. What do they say on that? Gypsum cement. Ooh. So we're starting to get the dry cracked earth again. Yeah, as you can tell, it's the same process over and over again. It's just repeating the process through all the layers. And by the time we're done with this, the front will be all that needs to be molded. Once we remove the clay, we have our walls, our 3 walls that we're going to need. And then the wall for the front is going to be entirely done now. So we've got our two layers or 3 layers of print coat. I think last one we just did the 2, but we did a little bit of thickening around the back of the gills. So I think it was 3, wasn't it?
I think so.
Like 3 print coats and then 2 layers of burlap. Then we decided maybe we add another.
Was it 2 or 3 layers of burlap?
I think it wound up being 3, 3, and 3. We'll have to go back and check. No, it was 2, wasn't it? I think it was 2 layers of burlap, and then, but the second layer I doubled up on the burlap strips per pass.
Mm.
And then we did a really nice beauty coat on the outside and smooth that down. Now all this edge here, we don't really worry too much about getting plaster on that because that's all going to get ground off. So.
Did you know there's a sprig of some sort of tree or some shit trying to grow in the middle of the yard?
Yes, I did see that.
And Stacy's gonna bring to his home. It'll be after Dylan or after Logan gets off of work because she's got to clean and stuff. But she's gonna bring it home.
Cool.
I said that was fine.
Cool.
My brain hurts.
We're getting our dry cracked earth again. And while we're waiting here, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for sharing. We had, I think, a record number of shares on our second video today. I think it was like at 40 something when I checked last. Almost 600 or almost 700 or 700 views on one, 800 views on the other. So it is definitely humbling, you guys, that you find this interesting enough to not only watch it but share it with your friends. Because that's how this event is going to be successful. Not only the fact that we're doing a killer suit, but we're hoping to raise a lot of money for Give Kids the World and Hearts of Reality. So now we're putting it on the dental agitator and bringing some of those larger bubbles and congregating the smaller bubbles. A little spritz. You can see how that pretty much immediately breaks the bubbles, breaks the surface air tension. And this batch we have the longest amount of time on, because by the time we get to the next layer, we have this already cured, and then we're putting new material on it, so it speeds that up quite a bit. Hello, everyone. Rucci, Matt Marich, David Mosher, Mark Worthling, Moto Glass, Edward Stroud. We're picking up. My brother, Steve Fenster, Todd Bixby, Janet Randall. Thank you guys for joining in and checking out our insanity. We're all kind of winding down. It's been a long day of pumping over this plaster.
Pumping over this glass.
But we're getting there. It's almost done for today. The reward will be multi-staged. First of all, when we're able to actually demold this, that's going to be wonderful, first of all. But then,
You're all looking in for that.
yes. But then getting the suit made and standing out on the banks of Silver Springs, that's going to be amazing. Okay, this is a creamy texture, almost like a heavy cream. So again, we'll start from the top. Be very careful around our pry points because those are very apt to pop off. And we got to be very careful about splashing any kind of gypsum on the other side.
Well, this side.
Yeah, the front side. Because the front.
It.
Oh, I'm not even showing you. I'm sorry.
There you go.
There we go. It's been a long day, guys. So we're just going to start wiggling it into all the detail. I'm not really worried about seeing any detail there not being covered completely, especially between the cracks. We're just filling in the majority of it. If we show, what's that? The crooks and nannies. If we see any of the brown clay showing through at this point, it's not an issue. We're just kind of bringing the material into those deeper cracks and recesses and making sure we don't have any air bubbles in them. You got to pay very close attention under the gills because there are deeper recesses in there. And again, we're just pulling material. And as we work on this and as it starts to cream and kind of gel, it's going to get thicker and we can actually add more material to this area that we're dabbing on now. But this is just a print coat. If this were laying horizontally, we would probably even spatter it on, splash it on, and do that. But since it is a vertical project for multiple reasons, we're having to modify that and going at it a little bit differently. I can't see the underside of this. If you could double check me behind that gill.
Yeah, there's some. You put some deep texture in there.
Oh yeah. What is often beautiful in sculpting is something that makes it harder to actually mold and cast and everything. So you guys will be privy to some of those challenges as we go forward.
Challenges. Master of understanding.
Yeah. Namely, the monumental task of lifting this heavy thing. But again, for those that missed the first part, what our main thing is now with this is getting good, even coverage and burping out any kind of air bubbles. Well, by the time we get our third coat on here, give or take, we won't have to worry about those undercuts anymore. And it's scary when you get to this part because you're not going to see this sculpture again until you demold, and by then it's not going to look the same. Going to encapsulate this and kind of be very gentle about it because we don't want to knock it loose in this stage or any of the subsequent stages. So we're just going to lightly put some plaster on that. Continue to just build up this wall. Again, we need a minimum thickness of about 1 inch on this overall. We may have gone a little bit over on the last one, but over, aside from it being a heavy mother when we try to mold it, it's not going to kill us. I'm going to use a little bit of canned air to make sure we've released any kind of air bubbles. You can use a compressor as well, but in our small shop with 130 amp fuse, we tend to blow if we do too much at once. So we're just going to do this to kind of spread that around and make sure we've got good coverage and no air bubbles. See, we just popped one. See that one right there? So we're going to make sure we burp out all those air bubbles. What's that? That's if you turn it upside down. Because this stuff, the all-purpose duster, if you turn it upside down and spray it at your clay, you get really cold blast that comes out. And then you can actually work a little bit harder with the clay and get little weird things that come up and little crumbs that you get. You can brush those off and get beautiful textures, but it has a scent to it, a taste to it. They put a bittering agent in it, and that's awful. Because then it's like you have, yeah, so the kids don't huff it nowadays. Meanwhile, I can't go in and get it without being carded.
Even though you're clearly a grown.
Yeah. So we're going to continue to build up this layer, and eventually you're kind of just letting the weight of the material fall off the brush and make contact, because we don't want to go too heavy with our brush strokes, because that's going to pull the material that's now starting to do its thing against the detail. So we're just adding a little bit to that, paying close attention to undercuts. And we're also fighting another thing, which is this eggshelling when it starts to ash and starts to thicken up a little bit. We don't want it to get too thick and start to
You want it to get ashy.
turn ashy. And we also want to watch air bubbles from forming around those pry points, because those have to remain very strong.
It's peaking like queen. Like whipped cream.
Yeah. And like at the top here where we did that first, we started at the top. Where we did that, it's already getting very dry looking. It's matting out. So we're just going to use what we have left in this bucket on this layer. Any questions you guys have, feel free to ask. If we're at a point where we can answer them, we definitely will. Yes, Carl, we will need to add in a release, a vent in that longer part down here, because when we're filling that as well as draining it, that's going to be a problem. So we will have to worry about that. But what I'm probably going to do is once I can invert that mold and look at it a little bit better, I'm probably going to wind up using a Dremel to cut a channel in there. And that'll give us enough of a little funnel area that if it's big enough, we'll actually be able to fill and pour through that hole as well, so we can see the material pop up. And once we know it's good to go, then we stop pouring or invert it and let it drain out. A good consistency. We're avoiding any kind of air bubbles. Keeping that wet coat on there, because it can't dry out. Like we discussed in the prior videos, if it gets too dry and goes past the green point, then what we have is a delamination risk. And delamination is not good. Anyone that tells you is a liar. So we're just chasing those air bubbles still. We had much less waste in this batch because we kind of knew by doing the first one what we would need as far as material goes. You can use your best guess to estimate that, but sometimes you still have waste.
I'm going to swap sides, see if we can do any better around there than I am.
Yeah, we might need to use one of those softer brushes like we did last time. If you would just keep that moving. Yeah, we want to make sure that we don't have any of those little peaks that are going to stop more material from getting into those channels. And we're about ready to get the other batch metered out, because this is definitely getting ashed over. And this is another reason why you need more than just yourself doing a project like this, because the time that it takes to do all this, you need to be sure that you're able to get everything done in one step. And more eyes on something are sometimes a good thing. So we're just chasing this around, making sure we're burping out all those little air bubbles. Again, getting ultimate coverage on this layer is not my main goal. It's getting a thin coat over everything. Anything else is a bonus. Okay, so our first coat is pretty much in there. We haven't lost any of our pry points or anything like that.
Always a plus.
Yes. Now we're working on our second print coat, and this should be timed, excuse me, this should be timed to where this is just starting to mat out. We'll just get the tubular out. Yeah, in the brush, it's already set. And we can see that this is, all the gloss has gone away and it's fairly flat.
Is the laptop plugged in?
Yes. And we've weeded our brush. That's going through its dry cracked earth. And since this is the second coating, print coat layer, we want to make sure that this one is also as bubble free as possible. So we will do the vibration, the dental agitator on there as well. You got the dry cracked earth, mixy.
How many brushes a year do we buy?
Oh boy.
Thousands?
How many
Yeah.
cases?
Unfortunately, yeah, we have to buy it by the case. And unfortunately, you wind up going through a lot of these because you just can't always rinse them out before they start doing awful things. Do the no things. Our laptop is doing weird things. Trying to do updates during our live. As long as you guys can see what we're doing, that's cool. We just have a time where we won't be able to answer any questions. And not to make this sound like a telethon, but please, if you like what we're doing, if you dig what we're doing, and you want to help in any way to make this easier, there are multiple ways that you can help out with that. You know, liking and sharing this is a big step. Sharing it with your friends, making sure that they're aware that we're actually doing this, because it is a grassroots con. And you know, go over to the Hearts of Reality Gill-A-Bration presents Gill-A-Bration. And if you intend on going, definitely put down on there. We will have vendor applications going out hopefully this week. I know we said last week that it would be coming. It looks like those are all approved now. And vendor applications and sponsorship packages will be going out as well. So if you can't necessarily make it to the show, but you want to sponsor the event, if you're a business owner, car dealership, attorney's office, anything like that, if you'd like to get advertising in our vintage style program, it's going to look like an old issue of Famous Monsters magazine. We have sponsorship programs starting as low as $250. So that way you can actually help make this a reality. It's very expensive to put on a show like this and get all the talent in. And we're trying to, you know, give fans what they want, but also give a fitting thank you and almost like a birthday wish to the stars that are still with us. Because we've already lost Julie Adams, and as many times as I've seen her at shows, and even talked to her and gotten her autograph and stuff like that, you don't think that these people could one day not be with us. And then you see all of the posts about the memories and stuff like that, and everyone misses them, but we have people that are here that we can celebrate too. And it's much nicer when they can actually hear it. We recently saw Rico in Spooky Empire, and it was nice to see his face when he saw the sculpt of the mask and got to see the artwork that Chelsea did for the program and the posters, and he lit up when he saw the picture of he and Ginger Stanley. I'm like, yeah, this is for you. We want to celebrate your contribution.
Will those of us who can't make it be able to order a shirt from the shelf? Probably.
Yes, I think actually they're probably going to be available on the website, the Hearts of Reality website. We should have that up, I think I was told, by next week. But yes, we are going to have a more official, rather than just the event page, we're going to have an actual website, a web page, as a part of Hearts of Reality.
There'll
that
be a link off of the Hearts of Reality.
You'll be able to buy tickets and check out the vendors that'll be signing up and all of that good stuff. So I know everyone keeps asking about that. We are listening.
We're working on it, I promise.
I think the strangest request that I've gotten so far about the Gill-A-Bration was, I won't give names, but someone contacted me and they said, what are you doing next year? And we're not even through this year. And it's like, well, next year is the celebration, the 65th anniversary of Revenge of the Creature. It's like, yeah, we know. We are fans like you. But can we get through this one first? But I can understand everyone's excitement, because you got to kind of think ahead and think how we can continue to bring something like this to fans. And luckily there was a Revenge of the Creature. So then my gears get turning, because I can't turn off my brain at night. And I'm like, well, said this earlier, we could always do the mask from the second movie, The Revenge of the Creature, make it look like that one, and still give honor to the people that participated in that. Ginger Stanley was in that as well. Rico, of course. Even a very young Clint Eastwood.
I don't know that we'll be able to get him.
No, I wouldn't count on getting Clint Eastwood. We're continuing to work these gill backs as well. Kind of got to wiggle it in at an angle, though, so we break up all the air bubbles that would form. Kind of dribble the material over, kind of like a splash coat. It is starting to get creamy, hitting that point. And we're just keeping this mold wall wet and continuing to build on it. Because like I said, if nothing else, the mold walls need to be the minimum thickness of 1 inch, because a lot of stress goes on those walls when you're prying it apart, both in demolding and then, of course, when you cast it. There's a lot of chance of breakage there if you're not building it up and working out any air bubbles. Can you check that side and just make sure we're not splashing anything on the front?
A couple of speckles.
Okay. Little speckles I can take, but let's try to get them off of there, and
No cleavage though.
because once they set, they're a booger to get off.
Yeah, I don't have any release on that side yet.
Not yet. This is the second batch. Covering nicely. End of today, you would have used almost, if not, 50 pounds of material.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Yes. Also, thanks to our friend Kelsey, we have deals that'll be coming for hotels for people that want to stay here in Ocala. It's a good idea to do that anyway, because you can also spend time in Orlando. This is a one-day show, so it's going to be Saturday. So Sunday, if you don't have to get back home immediately, you can hit Orlando and see some of the other venues that are in Orlando, particularly Madame Tussauds is in there, right in Point Orlando. Disney, if you guys haven't been in a while, that's always fun. You can make it like a mini vacation.
Robin has our born and said, "What's up, dude?"
Hey, Robin and Heather. Just making monsters. Still can't leave shit alone. Rob and Joelle. I met Rob around the same time I met Joelle, and he was instrumental, both of those guys, opening me up to a new reality of makeup and stuff like that. Joelle was teaching his class on, prosthetic makeup. And I learned some new techniques from him. And I wasn't even molding stuff back then. I was doing one-off sculptures. And every time I did something, Rob would say, "Dude, why don't you mold it?" "I don't know how. I always mess it up." "No, you need to mold it." This was a long time ago. So I started molding some of those things. And before I knew it, I was getting really good gigs with model companies that needed me to sculpt and do molds, and the rest is history. Also got to hear the Munsters probably before anyone else got to. I got to hear metal version of the Munsters being played on Rob's guitar. That was pretty cool. I have a lot of awesome friends that I met over the years.
I'm gonna check there, but I can't really see.
Behind the gill?
This one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got that one. And now it's really getting creamy, kind of like a whipped cream. Who's whipped Okay, we're ready to mix up another batch. This will be the third layer of print coat just for a guarantee here, because we're still well under even 1/8 of an inch on the wall flange. So we'll do one more coat of just a safety without burlap. We're going to focus on building up the undercuts under the gills with this next coat coming up.
Okay.
And I'm so glad that Svengoolie is being recorded, because we'll get to see that after we're done, maybe. Anyone know what's on Svengoolie tonight? I haven't even been able to check. And if you're in the part of the country that doesn't have Svengoolie, I apologize. But I don't know, because you might have a cool horror host of your own that we don't have in our market, so. Hello, Haley. Yes, we are having oodles of fun. Three-piece mold, Rob, yes. Because the big fin that he has on the back of his lower half, it would make it very difficult to do this in one here and one here, because first of all, you couldn't even get in there to get all the material out, the clay. So yeah, we're having to do this in three parts. But that is the end of our second. Now, one thing about the Hydrocal, and Ultracal for that matter, haven't seen it happen as much on plaster, but I'm sure it does, is if you leave a little bit of material from the previous batch in the bowl, it seeds it.
Rob's watching House of Wax. It's on. That's what's on.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. Gosh darn it. Responsibility sucks.
Tom says he doesn't think he has a horror show on Spectrum. What channel is that? It's on MeTV, Tom.
MeTV, yep. They may not have MeTV. I know, what was it? Bright House had
They're
it.
called dental vibrators.
This is ours. Nothing fancy. I think it was $25 from China.
I
But-
think it was 16.
16. Free delivery. It works well. Now I'll jinx it and it won't work, right? Is that what's going to happen?
Shut up. Don't talk bad about my toys. If it dies, I'm kicking your ass.
So unnaturally attached to it.
Listen, it's going to take me a while to get another one. We got to wait for it to be delivered, so don't break my shit.
Okay. It's just out of your camera range, I think, but we're just waiting for that to dry crack earth on us. And by then, we'll be ready to get it on the mold, because it's really starting to do things. Bad things. And this is not as bad as a plaster mold, because when you actually use like a casting plaster, it delaminates so much. I was explaining this in one of the earlier videos. It'll actually delaminate from itself if you wait too long. So we have to move pretty quickly when we're using casting plaster to make our molds for really, really high solids latex. But with this one, it's Hydrocal, which does bond to itself quite well. Yeah, they've called it. Carl was asking about the dental vibrators. Yeah, they call it all sorts of things. Depending on where you're looking, what site you're looking at, they used to be called dental agitators or things like this. This one, I don't even know if it has a name on it. It's not like, a main brand one, but I think when I looked it up, it said dental agitator because people lose their mind when you use certain phrases, I guess.
And Google sends ugly things into your search
Hey, Eric. Honey, what was Eric Mortensen's question? I can't read it.
Again, I apologize if you already answered this. What was your thought process in deciding to do three-piece mold as opposed to cutting the fan off and gluing it on later, not second guessing it?
Oh, well,
And Rob wants to know if you've already done the other side. You did one side of the fin, working on the second, and then looking at front. And Carl said they're $50 on eBay for what we have.
So to Eric's question, whenever you have to have a glue point, especially on latex, I want to be sure that it's really going to, first of all, not have a bad seam. Second is, the glue, no matter how good you do, with the way that this is kind of very aerodynamic and it sweeps forward and everything, there's detail in all of this thing. So I was really worried about glue seam, a glue joint where I did that. So I figured that it would be better to do it as a 3-part mold, because then we only have to worry about snipping the latex and trimming up the seam down the back. Also, getting material out of the fin area, that made it necessary, but I'm with you. I mean, I did consider that early on, the possibility of just detaching the fin, but on the original, it was definitely on there as a part of it in the original sculpt, and part of me wants to do this as close to the original as I can.
Part of you? No, all of you.
Yeah, all of me. I'm not gonna lie. We're even looking, the rivet counters in modeling. We're looking at how they had the zippers, and he had snaps that went on the bib of the mask and the other side of the snap on the suit. So when they actually put that mask on, they snapped it in position. So our mask will be joined to the body just similarly. The suit itself, we're going to use a diving suit very similar to the original. And
I don't think we'll be able to find a vintage one though.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to find a vintage one, that's for sure. And one time I did ask Rico what kind of diving suit they used, if they had any kind of diving suit, and he said a few years back that he thinks that it was a custom suit that they sewed for the Gill man, that he actually wore, not like a diving suit that was thick, but just a regular, almost like a bodysuit that they glued everything to. And Ben Chapman basically said the same thing. He doesn't think it was a special suit. He was a walking creature anyway, but he said he thinks it's just a suit that they came up with. But that was so long ago. I saw him several years ago at Chiller. And of course, he and Julie Adams, I think they had taken more than their fair share of fanboy questions and were so tired, but they still took the time to answer me and share some memories. Ben Chapman was really cool. And Rico, he's amazing. If you haven't had a chance to really talk with him, he's a cool guy. He took a lot of time with our 4-year-old project, I guess. I don't know what you'd call her. But she is so in love with the classic monsters. You ask her what her favorite monsters are, and she'll probably go and run and get her Frankenstein and her creature. The Mezco one that they came out with, the little vinyl figures, she loves those. Those are her favorites. So, of course, when he was in town last year for Springs Fest, she had to go see him, and she brought her toys for him to see and played with the swimming creature, Rico Browning, and just played with him for the time that we were talking with him.
She was so excited that he played with her baby.
And tell everyone, I don't know if they can hear you, Amber, you might have to speak up, but tell them what she said after she got his autograph.
She said, yes! And I'm like, yes, what? And she was just so excited that, yes, she got to meet the creature, that he played with her baby, and that she was just so excited. More excited than I think probably any normal human being should probably be.
We are talking about normal people, though. This is also the young girl that didn't want to see the mermaids that were visiting there because they weren't real mermaids. She could tell that they had little spandex costume fins, and
Halloween costumes, she said.
yeah, Halloween costumes. So she starts costume shaming the mermaids there, and we're like, honey, we understand. Oh, careful, you're pulling way too much off. Okay. Getting deep old brush strokes. But yeah, she had quite a good time out there. And of course, Rico's daughter was there at his side, and she was just eating it up. And his son-in-law, also named Ted, he was there. And they just couldn't believe this little kid loving the creature from the Black Lagoon so much.
Rob wants to know if he sculpted the body. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, we still have to do the hands, the feet, and then we're going to attack the body. We are looking at some sponsorships of people that might want to help us out in the materials industry. So that's coming. We just haven't done it quite yet, but it's going to be a very expensive project to do. Yeah, because I mean, you're looking at needing a full body cast first. Even if you do it as cheap as you can, like a duct tape dummy, it's still expensive and takes time. And then it's a lot of materials for whether we use monster clay or wet clay or Chavant, it's a lot of material. So it's coming. And he should be done, for those that are going to be attending Hearts of Reality on August 10th in Celebration, Florida. Yeah, he may actually make an appearance then. So that would give you an incentive to come out and see what all the hullabaloo is about Give Kids the World, if you are able to. Because I know the people that go there year after year could tell you some amazing stories about what they've seen. We've been going for, 3 years? And it goes so fast. I mean, the year leading up to it goes so fast. And then it seems like it goes in a flash. And we get to meet the kids that are there at the village and see what they're doing. And then they show us all the improvements that have been made, thanks in part to all the donors that come through and the people that go to Hearts of Reality event for the autograph signings. And we've met so many awesome people in that. I told you about our friends, Audrey and Aaron, great people. We met them because of that. And Dan and Steve, and of course David O'Connell and Emily Serpico and all of our friends from Face Off. Now Stephanie Masco joined the team, so she's there. And we get to sign autographs and meet fans and still support, a great function like that. When you walk down those streets and see 24-hour ice cream stands and G.I. Joe workout rooms for the kids and little beauty places and temporary tattoos, and it's sad sometimes when you hear the reasons why is there a temporary tattoo place. Well, a lot of the kids that are there, they are ill. They may not get a chance to get their own tattoos. They may not get a chance to experience a lot. They have 2 Christmases a year there because the kids may not make it from one Christmas to the next.
No, they do Christmas
So-
like every Thursday.
Every Thursday?
Yeah, and Halloween is like every Monday or Tuesday. Every week. And Santa comes and everything.
See, that's an incredible thing. And a lot of it is done by volunteers. A lot of it is done by, people that donate and money that's raised through Hearts of Reality every year during the various things. Omar El Kayube, he's one of the guys that's helping us on this event. And he does so many different things throughout the year. 5K walks, runs. I think the most interesting one I've heard so far was the rappelling off a 20-story building. But all of that is done to raise funds for Give Kids the World. And so much of what they bring in goes right back to the kids. It's not like they, squander it or put it into a fat check for the CEOs. That comes right back out. So like 97% or 98%, I can't remember the exact numbers, but in the high 90s goes back to the kids of the village.
Everybody's saying hit GoFundMe and Kickstarter.
Yeah. We have considered that. Because that would definitely help. That's a dead soldier. Okay, so we're done with our hard part. We got our 3 print coats on there. We're sure that all detail is covered. We've got a good layer back here, as you can see. The undercuts are pretty good. So now we're moving on to burlap. Oh, okay, a little bit. I'm just going to lightly moisten the burlap so it's not too soppy that it starts to waterlog the plaster that we put in there, but we don't want it soaking up all the water out of the plaster and then it gets really weak. That's fine. That's fine. But it doesn't like to absorb a lot of the water, so you kind of got to just soak it good and then pull it aside a little bit. Do we have an empty cup somewhere?
No.
There we go. Save that water.
Okay. Batch and a half, double batch.
What did we do on the other one? Batch and a half? I think double batch we had a little bit of waste, so maybe we just do a batch and a half.
Yes, from Lowe's Garden
You want to
Center.
just use this?
Sure.
There we go.
Yes, the burlap came from Lowe's.
Yep, it's a much, that one's a much looser weave. And a lot of this is going to be duplication for those that have tuned in from the ones previous.
That have sat through this earlier.
Yes. So the first thing we're going to do, since this is starting to ash already, as soon as we get this batch done, we're going to wet our brushes with it and get a little bit of a wet coat over the whole thing again, and then we're going to start burlapping. And we can also use the brushes to tamp the air and the gaps out of the burlap. In this one, we won't necessarily have to vibrate the air bubbles out, because by putting the burlap in there, we're going to get a lot of air bubbles anyway, so we might as well just throw it on and then work the air bubbles out through tamping it. So I know it's a lot of tedium to to watch the same process over and over again. Is everyone enjoying it? Everyone having a good time on a Saturday night watching this stuff? Making monsters and stuff? Hopefully I'm not boring you to tears. But if you guys are interested, we will try to figure something out with, showing you the process on the suit and the hands, whether it's the entire sculpt, show you how to do that, what we're doing with it, or of course the molding process of both. And this batch that we're doing is just a little bit stiffer than the last batch because we're going to be putting the burlap on it. If we were to use dry burlap, we'd probably want to use a wetter solution of...
Apparently we are keeping it fun. And Kevin is here.
Kevin.
Ah! Finger.
Hello! Missing finger man?
And Tom Murph says part-time. Excellent! Sorry.
See, for us, I enjoy it, and I watched a lot of videos, but like I explained earlier, I can imagine someone wanting to watch a process like this, but I guess, I got to think outside that this is new to some people, and it is kind of interesting, but I'm glad that y'all are having fun with it. Get to see the other side, and this is exactly why they don't show it on Face Off, because it would be, a marathon episode that lasted 8 hours, and you'd see making molds and staring at clay for 4 hours or 5 hours or 8 hours. Okay.
And what they do play is in like super fast.
Yeah. We gotta get some in here. Because it is starting to get really, really matte. So we're putting on our wetting coat. Not our wedding coat, but our wetting coat. Working it into any kind of underhangs. Because we want it to be wet when we're putting on our burlap. Yes. I can still feel that it's green enough that it's not going to delaminate because I'm moving the material on that's under it, but I'm not removing it. So it's doing okay.
It has a little give to it.
Yeah. So we're going to wet it up real quick. Make sure we have at least a wet coat over those areas because that kind of resets your clock. It's not so dry at that point that it's going to ash. But like I said, every coat we do at this point is going to speed up because we've got the mass, we've got we've got the mass, plus we've got the heat that's generated underneath. Let's go ahead and put 2 layers on if we can. Okay, so we're working on the flange. This is going to support. Yep, that's going to support that fin area we have. And right now we're just laying it on, starting around the base and the flange. And once we get those on, we use the brush to kind of tamp out the air bubbles, any kind of gaps that we have. And then it's on to the next. This is where you really start to see mass in the mold.
Season 9, and they want to know if you have any behind the scenes stories.
Who's asking that? Behind the scenes, I just kind of soaked everything in. It was kind of cool seeing the production and everything. The one thing that people always ask me, though, is what is Glenn Hetrick like in real life? And, you know, he has this persona on the show of being... Yeah, I mean, he was the bad guy. He always gave people the evil eye and, oh, you could do better on this, you could do better on that. And in real life, meeting him and everything, he was so warm and cool and just
Nice.
amazing. Yeah.
Not a dick.
Not a dick at all. Because everyone assumes that, oh, well, he was a hard ass. He was such a jerk. No, he really wasn't. He was great. And even seeing him after Face Off and seeing him at shows, it's like catching up with a cool friend. You know, he's just really cool. Had great stories about Neville Page. I love Neville Page, from his attention to anatomy and his design work to just being a stand-up guy. If you guys don't follow his Twitter and stuff like that, he's involved with a lot of charity work as well for kids. Amazing, you know, the things that he does and helps with. But I really dig him, and I really didn't speak with V. Neal enough to really get a real vibe off of her. So I will refrain from talking stories that I may not know entirely. But she's V. Neal. She's royalty in special effects. Between her and Greg Canham, you know, designing and her doing the makeup and stuff that she did on Beetlejuice and all the Tim Burton stuff that she worked on, and Pirates of the Caribbean, and even the makeup on, you know, the Mockingjay series. Why can't I remember this?
Hunger Games?
Hunger Games.
8,000 times because we have kids.
Yes. I haven't seen it 8,000 times.
It's been on in our house 8,000 times and we've walked past it about that one. I've walked past it about 8,000 times.
Our kids love it. So we're continuing just to burp out those air bubbles, make sure it gets tamped into all the little undercuts. I will say this bit of trivia, a lot of people don't know this. When I got married a couple of years ago, Jason, who was on season 9 with me, he was actually my best man at the wedding. We hit it off so much, and he actually came in from LA, and we had a great time. He's an awesome guy. I miss our Jason.
Gotta get him back out here.
Other than that, I can't really tell you a whole lot of stories.
You don't have many. You're not the wild Indian jumping off the roof kind of guy.
I was the boring old guy. I knew that. And I was fine with that. But I honestly, not in a million years, thought that I would be on for all 14 episodes. I thought for sure that I would have been off well before that.
Well, usually the old guy's off like 5th, 6th episode.
Yeah, that's about all I was counting on, was maybe 5 episodes. But I was there to see if I could. But my time on both Face Off and when I went back for Game Face, it was good memories. It was a good time of growth with all the changes that were going on in my life at the time. It was really cool to be on that show and test myself and see what I was capable of. And I'm very grateful for, I can't even say the opportunities that it gave me, because I did have opportunities before. It didn't make me, wasn't going to break me. But the thing that I think was most amazing was that, during a time in my life where I needed it, I could do that.
Is this Chelsea?
No, that's me. That's me. We went up there.
That one's yours, though. She didn't leave hers. She's famous for leaving cups. I love Chelsea. She's a cup.
Okay, got some steel left in here.
Okay, we could fit it back here. That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I need to pack that in there, burp out all the air, and fill up some of these
Still, you should have
undercuts.
won. At least he didn't say you got robbed.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Robbed. Still,
Oh.
you should have won.
I can't complain how it went because I wouldn't have met my bride if it weren't for losing face-off. But that is one thing that I can joke with you guys about. Just as a fun thing, it's not like I was ever a drunkard or anything.
Yes,
But-
you are. You
Oh, yeah.
smoking, drinking, cradle robbing bastard.
Oh, yeah, no, really not. But people in social media seem to think so for a while. But yeah, we had a little game going. Kept it on the down low, but sometimes
You sound so stupid
We would-
saying down.
we would do those shows at the conventions and stuff, and people would come up and they would always say, you were robbed, and it was touching. But it's like, for me, I get embarrassed. That I don't know, it's just me, but I would get embarrassed, and I can't remember how it came up, but we started bringing some Fireball, and it was like, take a little shot if someone said you were robbed. And I had to stop because, like, by 11 I was starting to get warm ears. So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. That was fun while it lasted.
We got nice and toasty at Tampa Bay Comic Con.
Yeah, it's like, no, I need to not do that anymore.
But that time we weren't drinking Fireball, but we did drink an entire bottle of Hot Damn that day.
Yeah,
And it was gone before dinner time.
Yep. But it's always fun to go to those shows and hear the fans and what their dreams are and how they're trying to learn special effects, makeup, and actually get to talk to them about, okay, what do you want to do in special effects makeup? Because that is a very broad term. Special effects makeup, what do you want to do? Do you want to do lab work? Do you want to do makeup application? Do you want to do design? There's so many different things you can do. Or do you want to work for independent films and pretty much do it all?
For free.
For exposure. Yeah, we've discussed that before. I have done so much work for exposure, and kids out there that are wanting to be special effects artists or artists in general, or you always have to think about, if someone says, well, I can give you great exposure, choose that wisely. Don't do jobs that are going to compromise your ability or your integrity. And realize that if someone says that, don't listen to them saying it's good exposure. Look at it as, it's a good opportunity for me. Even if I get paid absolutely nothing, what am I going to get out of it? The experience. So, and that way you won't be insulted when, you don't get paid. How bad do you want that gig?
We're not saying don't ever do jobs for exposure. We are saying be careful with jobs for exposure.
And for the love of all things holy, get contracts. A lot of times you're working with a bonehead that may not have the money to do anything about it. And you can't get blood out of a turnip. But if you have contract, at least it's something. and even down to, IMDb credits. Make sure that they are going to be able to give you that at least. Verify your IMDb credits. And this will be another batch just like that. I can tell by looking at the edge here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got at the widest part about 1/4 of an inch, but we still have a ways to go, especially in this
Carl
lower
now
flange.
says you were robbed, and so does Rob.
What are you guys trying to do?
And Tom says don't drink and make molds.
Yeah. No, I can't do that.
Eric says he won't say you were robbed, but he will say you were ripped off.
I really don't see it that way, and I appreciate that, guys, but I got what I wanted out of the show. I cannot complain.
Yeah.
You got to be there for all 14 episodes
All 14 episodes.
and got sent home on a really, really good piece.
Yeah.
Where it couldn't necessarily justify how or why they sent you.
I felt it was a good piece. Going home on that is better than going on a makeup that I really blew at, I was happy with it. My, oh my God, I'm having a total mind fart. Cody, I think his name was?
Model?
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. But he was great, and, when we got sent back for that hour to make our makeup better, he was scratching his head too and just trying to, how can we make this better? Was it my acting? Was it the way No, I mean, he did that great. He sold it. He was the original Walking Dad, and he did great. And it was his idea to do certain things and act a certain way, like the Ward Cleaver, the way that he walked and stuff. I thought it was fantastic. I got no regrets, though. That was awesome.
Bobby says it's a crazy amount of work.
Hi, Dave. Distilled on the water.
Yep, we might have run out of distilled. I think this is just tap now, but typically we do use distilled water. That way you get the purest form. One good thing is I do see that our separation line, the release is doing what it's supposed to, because we're getting a little bit of shrinking going on with the material, and I can see that the line is starting to pop where we have that in there. So we're good, but we gotta hurry. Now it's starting to, get crispity crunchity.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I love about Face Off, one of the things I really loved in my case, is that it's given me such an opportunity to talk with, people both in my position that were older that wanted to follow their dream, and they had no idea how they could get into makeup or what they needed to do to start. And I get the kids, the younger kids that are like, I want to do what you did. How did you do that? And no, it's not a series of bad choices.
Or a series of injuries.
No. It was always cool to talk to those people and to be, an inspiration to people that, like this guy I talked to, he said, you are me. I'm going through a divorce. I never did this because I was made fun of, that they always said that I wasn't any good and everything like that.
You can't compete on that level.
I said, what's to stop you from trying now? Okay, you've been through a lot of crap. You may not get on Face Off, but what's to stop you from dreaming and doing and experimenting?
Now.
So this guy, I gave him some information and my thoughts on it, and we're still in contact. I don't know that he's doing it professionally, but he is doing makeup, and he has his own home haunt, and I don't want to say his name or anything like that, but he started doing makeup in his own home haunt, and he's having a blast. So the end can be a beginning as well. Okay, I'm going to start laying on this flange because it needs to be built up quite a bit more. Again, we're burping the air out as we go. We're going to keep a good inch on this bottom flange too. We may use an angle grinder, get most of that flash off, the excess.
Amber, could you get some brushes?
Yeah, we'll need some tamping brushes, honey.
You want ones, twos?
Choose, please. This has been quite the marathon molding
What's it worth
session.
to you? I'm serious. What's it worth to you? There's a bug!
Wow, that's
Shit, it's flapping around.
it's just a dragonfly. It's
Okay.
okay.
Well, I look like a
It's okay.
grasshopper, and I don't. Amber
Damselfly.
doesn't do
A
grasshoppers.
Yeah.
No, not a grasshopper.
I saw a flappy thing. Ah! It's flappy. I don't like it. It's down there by you. Make it go away.
I don't know that I can, because to do that would require me touching him with plaster hands, and that would kill him.
But that's okay. He needs to get out of shit!
We really need those brushes.
Cheers. I am trying to evict a bug.
Yes.
Somebody left the door open.
It was getting humid in here from all the plaster work.
Listen, when we signed the contract, you said you would get rid of the bugs. And here you are not keeping up your end of the bargain, sir. So we're going to have to renegotiate our contract. You should be proud of me because I didn't smash, kill, murder.
Catch and release.
Eric says, what is your advice to people that want to do this on more of a hobby level but work 70 hours a week and just don't have the time? Tom's response was crack cocaine.
Yes. Yes. Honestly, that is a challenge. You know.
Taxes the next commission for Starship Troopers 5.
Starship Troopers?
Yeah, I guess, and apparently I scared the living shit out of Rob.
Well, I mean that was pretty bad, and he's a guy that likes horror films, so
So good on you.
Why doesn't my scream scare our children?
because they're used to it.
Fuckers. I don't like them. Say we give them away to like hobos or something.
Most of the times they're pretty cool.
It's not the little ones that are the problem, it's the big ones. They turd sometimes. A lot of times. Just turds.
Yes. Okay. We're getting to the end of our burlap session. Now, I think we did a third on the last one, didn't we? Or did we just do two?
I think we did 3.
3. But on the first one, we doubled it on this. So we probably don't need to do a third on this one. We'll probably just be able to move on to Beauty Coat, because the first one we did a single layer of burlap, and then we did a double and a double. And this one we just did 2 to start with, and then we added another layer of
Apparently
tubes.
it's a bugs thing. The aliens and Starship Troopers are giant bugs.
Ah, yes. Yeah, and I'm sure if that bug would have flown through the camera finder, it would look like that. But it's just a damselfly.
You been drinking?
No, I'm
You just
exhausted.
slurred pretty,
I am exhausted.
emphatically there, sir.
Your father and I and Chelsea have been beating this monster up for a long time. But by this layer, we're going to have all of our undercuts taken care of, or most of our undercuts taken care of. Burping out the rest. And then we're on to the one of 2 burnt beauty coats, or 3 beauty coats that we're going to put on this.
That's what I said, booty coats.
Yes. And mad props to Ted for another fine day of work. Not only one of the best zombie models in the known universe, but a damn fine mold engineer, if I do say so myself.
He's pretty good at playing a dead person. However, Lila's pretty good at playing dead too.
Yes.
And she did learn from a pro, but I think she's kind of a natural.
Yeah, she was freaking people out at the haunt.
She made that lady pee her pants.
Grown people.
She made a lady pee her pants. They thought she was a prop.
Yeah, they thought my daughter was a prop. She was sitting so still at the haunt, and then decided to jump up and scare the bejesus out of some girl.
She wasn't doing it on purpose. She just jumped up and was like, "Okay, Pop, I'm ready to get down now."
Yeah.
And the lady gave one of those fantastical screams like I just did.
Yours, Scott?
Yes. I'm getting a little bit of dust.
A little dusty there.
Oh, this lot.
Okay, so we're moving on to the first of maybe 3 beauty coats.
Bobby says, "What are beauty coats?"
Beauty coats. Once you've done this, it kind of looks like dog's breakfast because all of the burlap is showing through and you have stragglers and gross parts and stuff. So your beauty coats are usually the last one that you put on there, the last coat. But for me, I call the last few that I'm building up volume and mass, but no strength. I mean, we've got all our strength in there already. So we're just going to add a little more of the plaster without any burlap to build up the wall edge and overall thickness to 1 inch. So we want that final coat to really be the beauty coat that ties it all together, makes it easier to handle because this would be rough holding. So we do put a little bit of texture in it, and you know, it's like the last layer of the mold, basically.
To make it pretty.
Bob said, sharing posts about Gill-A-Bration on the horror Facebook page. You can just you can share the event. And then, if at all possible, he's going to try and be here.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. This is shaping up. And if you guys, one thing that I loved from the beginning is I reached out to a great brain of a man, David Scull. And if you know me, you know how I'm a fan of David's. And he did the Return to the Black Lagoon on the DVD set. He was the narrator and the person that did the interviews. I believe he even produced it. But he was absolutely amazing, and he's been on just about every making of video for the Universal Monsters. And I love reading his work and watching his videos. And I reached out to him, and he agreed to come.
One and a half, 2.
What's that?
That's 1 cup.
Let's do it the second.
Second full
Like
cup?
a half.
Okay.
And I'm going to start adding some of this to this batch because we are already ashing. So we're looking at needing, because we did 1.5 things of water, we're going to need 3 cups of the powder.
Already got 1 in.
Bobby said, "Thank you for it."
And I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting a little bit punchy from being tired, but thank you guys for hanging out with us all day. We'll have 1 more day for the front tomorrow, but that'll only be relatively short compared to today. I think we are fast approaching a 12-hour day just since we started molding this. No more burlap. We'll save what we have because that can be used tomorrow. Less we have to cut up. We can say here is our side A, and I see the little split, and that's our side B. So we're very close on top. As we get down here, it gets a little bit thinner, so we'll have to focus on the bottom flange where it gets long.
And also down here.
Yep.
And those two areas.
Yep.
Sooner than they could.
By the time we get these 3 batches, I'm going to probably call it at today. By the time we get these 3 batches done, that'll be an adequate thickness. We'll just judge it based on the wall thickness that we can see from the side. And we're about maybe not even a third into the bag.
Yeah.
So the entire rest of the bag, when we're done with this, will be front. Come on. Come on. Hurry up! Can't rush these things.
You can try, it just doesn't work.
No. And this batch will be slightly thicker as well. This is our finishing coat, so we don't want to go too thick, but it's going to be thicker than the kind of the heavy cream texture we had on the last one.
Well, then I'll add a little more to it.
This is very informative and fun.
Awesome. I'm so glad you guys are having fun with it. I know.
Oh, ashy, crackly. You ain't gonna touch me with that scratchy, scratchy ass. Stop it! I'm not in my hair, you dipstick! I'm telling Mommy.
That's what you get.
I hope she's still here and not too upset with me that it's... Yeah.
In and out. Oh, she what can't move it. Lila put on Snow White, so Nana was parked.
2, 1, and go.
You know Nana loves her some Snow White.
You don't want clumps in this layer, but honestly, you can be a little more liberal with this part of it, because as long as you get most of the air bubbles out, you're not going to have an issue with trapping a lot. You'll be fine. Now, conversely, if this was an Ultracal mold for, say, a prosthetic, bubbles are always an issue with prosthetics that you have to bake. If you're not using epoxy, or even if you are, you have to watch it, but it's a little easier to get your air bubbles out of epoxy laminate. But this stuff, if you get air bubbles in Ultracal, that air, when you put it into a foam oven at 170 or 200 degrees, those air pockets that are in that will expand to a point where you will hear almost like a gunshot, like a tink inside the oven, and you know your mold has just cracked. So you do want to be careful about air bubbles in that case, but this is never going to see heat as far as that goes.
Not that kind of heat. Florida heat, sure.
Florida heat. And ironically, we'll have to put this in a hot box probably to demold, so the clay inside here is soft enough to demold without tearing up our mold.
Any idea what the temperature is supposed to be tomorrow?
I don't even know.
It's probably not gonna go to the car tomorrow. We'll probably go in on Monday, right?
No, tomorrow. By tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, tomorrow.
Because we want to pull it when it's fairly green. So don't want it to be fully set.
Well, I thought we're not gonna put it in the car. We're just gonna put it in a box. Is it gonna
Probably
fit
the hot
in the
box.
box?
It should. I'm reasonably sure it should fit in our hot box. the other giant head that we did fit in there. Taken out of context, that would sound very bad, but yes, we have big giant heads in hot boxes in our shop.
Third rock from the sun.
It brings back memories of him helping Joel make some things.
Yeah. It seemed like it was such a different time to do that back then, in the 80s and 90s.
I lost my wetter chair.
You know, doing effects back then was so different, and it was like almost, you're doing detective work to figure this stuff out if you weren't lucky enough to know someone.
Oh, Stephanie came to watch. My Steph. See, my friends like you too. My friends think what we do is cool.
Look at that, nice and creamy.
I hope it ain't rain.
Hopefully, yes, the rain will hold off for tomorrow because humidity is never any good for this stuff.
Humidity is our bane.
Yep.
Good, why you gotta...
What?
You take my life.
What?
You take life.
Cool.
Look at this one.
This is a cool process to be close to the end of, anyway. Once that bottom starts to stiffen up a little bit, we'll have to put some mix down there. I might throw on some more burlap on this bottom flange too. I don't like how thin it is. No, sir, I don't like it. I'd rather put it on there and not need it than try to open this up with a pry point and have the thing say, nope. I'm going to go ahead and break off now. How's that? So we'll just thicken it up. That way when we're prying on it, we won't get a break.
I thought you were going to do down there.
Yeah, it probably couldn't hurt. Just not feeling confident about the thickness of that flange.
And hardiness of
Yeah.
the lower flangular area.
Yep. And that flange has to put
That's
up
a
with.
technical term.
Yes.
The lower flangular.
That flange has to hold a lot of weight because we're also, when we actually fill this with latex and then turn it over to drain, that area has got to support the weight of the whole mold.
Yes.
So we want to be sure that that's all good in
I want to know what it's going to be cast in.
latex. Mask latex. The original suit was done in foam latex, but everything I have read, the mask itself was done in a regular latex. I would love to actually know for sure, though. It could have been done in foam. As you know, Bud Westmore was a big fan of the foam. It was one of the reasons he got the job, and Jack Pierce got the axe, because Jack Pierce was stuck in a mold of not using molds. He was very much a part of the art of it, and he wanted to spend so much time, so much so that at one point Lon Chaney Jr. and he almost came to fisticuffs because he couldn't sit still that long. So the old story is that Lon Chaney Jr. nearly punched Jackie the Greek. How are we feeling about that flange now? That looks pretty stout.
At least 3/4 of that.
Okay.
I mean, we could probably use a bit more here.
Along that flange? Like 1 or 2?
You could have one doubled over.
I'll just run the whole thing, man.
Yeah. Not gonna hurt, really. There.
I have to trust your view on that side because I cannot see.
Now it's plenty thick on top here.
Good. And I got enough of a flange on this side of the fin. I'm pretty sure we have enough on the bottom. Certainly by the time we do our next
2 coats.
layer, yeah. And we'll definitely look over the whole thing and make sure that it needs that, because if it doesn't need a 3rd coat, I'd rather not.
Hey, you're playing shit this way, people.
Did I miss? We know we're going to need 1 more coat, but
Yeah.
maybe we can get by with that. Maybe we'll need to do 1 more. This in our beauty coat. And the next one, I promise I'm not putting any more burlap in. I just err on the side of caution. Don't want to take any chances with this. We can only do it once.
Well, no, you can do it again if you don't mind sculpting a whole new creature.
Don't want to do that. I mean, I enjoy it, but
Eric wants to know if you're gonna go live when it comes to patching this evening.
yeah, probably. I mean, if people are interested in it. We have talked about that. We've talked about the potential of, and I know everyone loves the free ones, and we would lose a lot of people if we went to like a Patreon type thing. But since we are trying to raise money for the finishing of the piece and raise money for Give Kids the World, that was something that we thought about, is going through Patreon or Twitch, and that way people could support that. And someone mentioned that earlier on this stream. It's something we considered, and I'm not 100% on it yet. I like doing this stuff for education's sake, but at the same time, we got to raise money for Give Kids the World and the event. Because so far, for the costume and the mask and everything, we are 100% self-financing.
Out of pocket.
Out of pocket. But I got to put my money where my mouth is because I believe in this. So if I can't believe in it, then I can't expect anyone else to believe in it.
Carl says, what are your thoughts on what happened to Millicent Patrick? Despicable?
Yes. I think, it was a product of the time. That doesn't excuse it, though. But,
It explains without excusing.
Bud Westmore, that was pretty shitty of him. And I understand that it's the Universal machine that wanted her to go on doing the promotion stuff. but the Totally Blacklister was kind of dickish to say the least. And great book that we're actually reading now. We are trying to get Mallory O'Meara to come to the show. We've talked to her publicist about it. But yeah, we want her to come and talk about some of the stories with us, because I'm reading the book now, and everything you read just makes it worse and worse. You know, how she was so talented and she did all this work that kind of got silenced because A, she decided to take some of the attention away from Bud Westmore, and B, she was a woman in an age where women didn't do this stuff. They were just supposed to sit there and look pretty, and she was actually a beautiful mind. So yeah, I've got my feelings about Millicent Patrick and the Bud Westmore thing. Yes, it was his studio under Universal, but there's enough to share in this world. But another unsung hero in the creature suit was Chris Mueller. He did the sculpt of the head, or at least a lot of it. And you very rarely hear about Chris Mueller. It's getting ashy. I am almost plenty thick on this side. I do see a difference in coverage here from this side. But I think if we at least get this double batch on there, it'll probably be enough to...
Double batch or batch and a half?
Well, what's this one? That's a batch and a half?
This will be, no, 1, 2, 3, plus a little bit more.
Okay. Okay, well, let's do the batch and a half, see how that looks. Count on probably needing to do one more after this, but that'll be our beauty coat. And it's really weird because, you know, Michael Westmore was the mentor on Face Off. And before that, he's been in Hollywood since he was a kid. Partly because of his family's, you know, working in Hollywood and everything. And he couldn't be any nicer. He was just a really sweet man. And Mackenzie was just sweet, sweet, sweet. But you hear all these stories about Bud, and it's like, how could they even be from the same family with the way that people talk and the stories that you read? I'm sure if you're in Hollywood long enough, everyone can find something negative about you, but I got to give a couple of shout outs again to my good buddies. Of course, Gene Crowell, thank you again for all of your help with the photos. You still continue to send photos to us, and there's such a huge help in trying to figure stuff out with the following step. And RJ Grady, the Kilted Creature, thank you so much for your continued support in this, and your musical gift from Spooky last week. That was awesome. Thank you so much. And his wonderful wife as well. Thank you so much, guys. Whew, I am out of energy. Stuff's getting old.
I'm craving like some carbs, like bread, like some, like yeast rolls and shit.
Did you eat any dinner?
No.
That might have something to do with it.
I had a boba tea.
I had coffee.
Hi.
Lurleen yelled at me before, by the way.
Why?
She said, I bet you guys didn't eat.
You would be correct.
I had boba tea.
That's a meal in a cup.
Yes. Not really, but you know, it tasted good. But mama's got to be mama. And she's right. What can I say? She knows us too well. And see this layer here, because we have so many layers under it, as soon as we're putting it on, it's starting to ash. It's starting to already go matte, and we're just putting layers on. This isn't particularly even brushed layers. It's kind of more like slathered. How's the front looking, honey? I'm not splashing on it, am I? Do you see any?
No, you flung some shit at me, but
Well, you
You clean up.
clean up.
if you ruin my
That's a
Beetlejuice
little
shirt,
bit too
we
strong a
don't
stroke.
fight.
I'm going to leave a lot on there.
Okay.
I would never consciously ruin your Beetlejuice shirt.
I just got this one. Well, not like just, but in the last 3 months.
Was that one of your... No, that wasn't one of your Christmas shirts.
I got this one from Michael, but it wasn't for Christmas. Michael knows what I like.
He knows what I like too, but I just have a terrible reputation with t-shirts.
Yeah.
I say, I'm just going to work out in the shop for 2 minutes. I'm not going to do anything dirty. I come in 10 minutes later or an hour later, and I'm like, I lost track of time. What's all over your shirt?
Stuff.
Latex.
About that.
You see, what happened was,
And the worst thing is, I own like three aprons. Yeah, those things.
You own several aprons because your wife is awesome.
But it's like, I just don't think I'm going to get messy. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going out there to, whatever. And
Listen, you're not allowed to just go out there.
yeah,
How about that?
I'm going to get some clay. I'll be right back in. Then I'm looking at something that's like gnawing at me.
nobody will notice if I just fix that one little thing.
Yeah.
I will notice because I have to deal with your clothes.
Gene and I got into a little bit of trouble that way. Well, he didn't get into trouble. I got into trouble because I came into the shop and Gene started sending me pictures.
Chemical apron, latex and ultracal on my own.
Oh, he has plenty of aprons. Plenty of aprons. Aprons are not an issue.
It's totally
The
my
fact that
fault.
He won't friggin' put them on.
Yeah, I will aprons. I got an Iron Man.
And a
I
Captain
got
America.
a Captain America. I got
And
a Han Solo.
Solo.
I got I think it was a Stormtrooper too, right?
Mm.
So I got aprons. And you know what I think? When I go to put it on, I'm like, oh, I don't want to ruin this.
So let's ruin your cool t-shirt instead.
Yeah. Priorities.
One in which I had to wait a year to replace. So.
I won't do it again. Now I have a pile. Thanks to my wife's awesome organizational skills, I have a pile of my work shirts that I can work from
But you're
our...
allowed to wear outside.
Yes.
But no heat there.
Yeah. And I got my nice studio shirts that, ironically, I don't wear in the studio. Something's wrong with me.
No, they're going out shirts.
sit just for a minute. I think the wet is catching up to us.
Mm-hmm.
So if we keep this moving in the bucket, it'll give us a little more life. And this, since it's stationary, it's just sitting there, it will actually start to set up. Plus, it's up against the other layers. I like the idea of a rubber or chemical apron if I lived in like Minnesota. Thing that I absolutely have a hard time with is wearing like a rubber chemical apron here in Ocala, Florida, in the dead of summer.
Crotch sweat.
It's like, why? Why does it have to be so hot?
Oh wow, you just blooped all of yourself.
I blooped myself.
Mm-hmm.
Do that on camera. Okay. Flagged for that shit. Get put in Facebook jail.
Don't put me in Facebook jail. See, just from that few minutes of sitting there, what we had on before is really starting to cream now, and what's in the bucket is still a little bit liquidier because it's kind of just been moving like in a cement truck.
I had to have a discussion with the children the other day about cement trucks
Yeah?
and how they work.
That's nice.
It was an interesting conversation. I mean, they were asking like legitimate and extremely good questions about how and why it worked. And using big words like mass reactive and centrifugal force. So I also had to start my look like a pig from you.
Yes. Oh, don't give me any ideas. I'd love to do that prop too. That's always been a cool one. And we need something to go with our face hugger in there. Which my son,
Oh God, he scared that poor girl.
we had to go up to Shands because my son has some special medical needs. So we had to go up to Shands. And Shands, because they deal so much with kids, they have like the little candy striper, but they're there to entertain the kids and keep them comfortable and happy and laughing. So my son, 8 years old, starts talking to this girl about, oh, we have a face hugger in our house. And she's like, what's that? Probably never heard a day in her life what a face hugger was. And she sits there and gets an earful about how, yeah, it jumps up out of an egg, attaches itself to your face, lays an egg in your stomach, and then a baby alien comes out.
Ah!
And this girl looked at him like he had two heads and is just like, what? But it's not real. Don't worry about it. My dad makes monsters. My mom makes monsters. We do all sorts of things. I got a life-size Frankenstein in my house, too. Oh, really? And this girl is like looking at him like, okay, I'm going to play with the other kids. They're not weird. I kind of like it, though. I like him being a little bit weird, appreciating classic horror and
I
stuff.
just hope public school doesn't destroy their weird.
Yeah. Well, Lila's no better. Ding-a-ling gets party plates that look like Chucky, and she says,
And Pennywise.
by next
Oh, she
year,
got Pennywise on too.
We might have.
by next year, by her next birthday, she wants to have,
Because she going to school.
yeah, she's going to school, like preschool, so she can have friends over that. And
She can
her
invite
thing
friends
was,
to her birthday.
is that she's going to invite friends to her birthday party. Well, what theme do you want? Chucky? No. No, we will be on the news. You're scaring.
Not in a good way.
You're scaring the straights, child. It's okay for you to like those things, but you probably ought not spread that joy to the other little monsters.
So, one more batch or?
Yeah, I think one more, and then, well, We're so close, but I think one more a batch, not a batch and a half,
Okay.
or we'll just do 2 to 1.
Oh, and by the way, sir, Mom and I were in the Wawa earlier, and we read all the packages for the Entenmann's, and none of them say anything about no damn soy flour.
The ones in the
What
in the store that we
packages?
went into, like the what was it? The
Oh, there's a bug in my phone.
like the cheese Danish and the crumb salty cake, those both had soy flour.
Well, she doesn't eat that shit anymore. She's looking at the donuts and the pound cake like, this man lied to me. She was all mad.
What did you get?
Nothing, we didn't get anything. I stopped to the Wawa and got a tea and a sandwich, and I split it with my mom.
You didn't get any donuts?
No, we didn't get any donuts. We were reading the Entenmann's packages because we were standing there talking about it. And she walked by him and said, you know what your father told me? And so I picked it up and I started reading. And I said, well, he was incorrect because this ain't got no soy flour in it.
Might be a specific product.
Well, she's like, he told me it was everything.
It wouldn't surprise me, though. They're changing everything over to soy oil, soy flour.
So she might need to kick you in the shin. Or not necessarily need to, but want to.
Almost there. Almost there.
And this steroids is making the boy real hungry.
Are you taking them too? Because you're talking about eating a Cinnabon, splitting a Cinnabon with your mama, and
I was upset. I was angry eating.
the stress eating.
I'm not. I don't sad eat. I angry eat.
Yeah.
Like somebody better get me a donuts before I commit a murder.
I need dinner or something.
You need some lotion.
I'm alright. I'm gonna
Don't touch me later.
Lubriderm it up.
Lubriderm.
Whatever that stuff is we got in there.
We don't have any Lubriderm.
What is it called? Eucerin or something weird?
Eucerin?
Eucerin. There you go.
That's for eczema. You don't want that.
I don't know what it is, but I know it's green.
But I think I got some Aquaphor.
Yeah.
Put some Vaseline on it.
No.
Oh, you can put the Badger Balm.
Yeah. Badger Balm is good.
I like Badger.
Yeah. Because I feel like Medusa after she saw her reflection.
Ian, Apache came over earlier. Carl says it's good because my battery's almost dead.
You watching on your phone, Carl? Yeah, I'm sorry. I have probably been the reason most phones in my friends list have died. I apologize. And this normally, it's a long process, I know, but so many people asked about it, and I'm sure after the fact we're going to do an edit to where we can actually have this edited down to show the steps and the stages. In truth, that's the way I'd want to see it in real life. I want to skip all the boring stuff and go to the different,
Hi, Aaron.
what do they call it? The lap dissolves and it's all done.
Our Aaron is here. Oh, by the way, talking about Aaron.
Hello, Aaron Phillips.
Our daughter is still talking about his son.
Oh, yeah.
And she's been talking. She apparently had a conversation with Nana at the dining room, at the dinner table last night about how she gonna marry Silas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marry Silas.
Aaron, I don't know if you could hear Amber because she's a little far away, but
seen in her whole life.
Lila is absolutely infatuated with Silas.
Smitten.
She's smitten. She talks about him, and he doesn't know it yet, but she gonna marry him. She's got it bad for Silas, just so you know.
Yeah, she said she's gonna marry him,
Yeah.
and she has that little fake phone
Yeah.
that Mom gave her, and she's like, yeah, only Paisley and Silas call me on this phone, so I know whenever it rings, it's when.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as far as in-laws go, we couldn't imagine a nicer set. So we're cool with
He's
it.
like,
but-
oh, good Lord, talking about marriage.
Yeah.
However, she doesn't want to have any children. She says
Yeah.
she doesn't want to have babies because that hurts. So at least we don't have to worry about being grandparents, or at least early grandparents.
And I hope I'm okay to say this, Aaron. This is the Aaron I was talking about on previous, whatever you call it, sessions. Getting so punchy. But Aaron Phillips and his bride, they are fantastic people. Met them on Hearts of Reality, and they gave us some pointers on setting up this wonderful kind of video thing. So mad shouts out to them guys. They are family.
Shout-outs.
They are awesome. Thank you so much, man. And I'm sorry about the babies thing. Yes, my daughter's a crackpot.
She doesn't want to have any babies because it will hurt. Because she asked me what it was like when I had babies, and I told her the truth that it was awful.
The only thing that hurt worse was the 18 years that came after. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I got it on my eye. That's not good.
Oh, my eyes.
It was splashed.
Kelso?
I'm getting this stuff everywhere now. I am so tired, guys. I feel drunk.
With power.
No, with exhaustion. And it's not only the physical. It's not like a hugely physical job, but it's just like trying to get it on there right and not screw up and watch every angle and every undercut and look for bubbles and stuff. Like by the time you're done, you're like, oh my God, I need a
I
nap.
love Aaron. Always here for you guys. Can't wait for Silver Spring. Well, we're going to see them before then.
I
We're gonna
hope
see
so.
you before that in August.
I hope so. Gosh.
But you definitely need to be here at the Springs thing. And we'll come and find you and drag you and my sweet girl here.
And the first year, man, I didn't know anyone there, and I was like, oh my God. And then you walked up, and it was like, that's a cool dude. Then the second year, it's like, that's a really cool dude. I like him. And when we got to meet Audrey, she's awesome too. Oh my gosh. Who knew? Who
They're our
knew?
kind of people. Mostly because they weren't. Never mind, I won't say that out loud.
Gene Kraut. Yeah. Your ears must have been burning. I was just bragging on you. And also, how you were getting me in trouble because I came in here to look at the creature and send some pictures. And then you and I got talking, and all of a sudden, it was 2 hours later, and I got yelled at.
Yeah, well, I was like, what the hell? Where did you go? I thought you died.
Things.
And stuff.
Aaron's gotta run, but good work. See us later.
Thank you for dropping by, Aaron. We love you
All the
guys.
loves for the
Aaron,
Aaron.
check out his page as well. He has a great video stream that he does. Great trivia and fun and all sorts of stuff. He was on Naked and Afraid.
He's our nudie friend.
Yes. He's not a nudist though. I mean, it was a part of the show. He can do it. But normally he wears
Later
clothes.
start tomorrow so we can get some sleep.
What are you what? Who's saying that? Oh, I'll probably get started around. I hate to do this, but probably around 10 or 11 again.
I know.
We got to get this done. I'm hoping we can do a demold tomorrow night, and that would be really cool if you guys could see the demold. But this has been a marathon, and it's just a lot of material, and goes to show you that even with the greatest intention and having done this and had a history of doing this, you never really know. You never know how long it's going to take. But we're trying. But you can always catch it on replay. There are no spoilers with this, except if God forbid something happens and it doesn't come out right, then you're going to hear me cry no matter where you live. But
get a new talisman.
We're excited. And then I think it's really going to be exciting when we do our first casting. The test pulls are always cool.
As long as you don't pour the latex all down yourself again.
That was totally explainable.
Really?
No.
Because you just butterfingered the shit out of it. That's what happened. Don't you lie to these people.
It dribbled a little bit.
A little? A little.
Only
A
about.
little?
Only
The
about.
entire front end of your shirt from the belly button to the crotch, that's a little?
Yeah.
You're on drugs.
Less than a quarter of it. Less than a third of the total volume or surface area of the shirt. I still wear that shirt too.
Wear an apron.
And
Not like I
Damn
didn't
it,
buy
come full
them.
You're not helping.
You know, God forbid I buy you something that you use.
I like them too much to ruin them.
So get him some plain ones.
I have plain ones as well. I even have girly frilly ones that if he wants to ruin them, he can.
I don't want girly frilly ones. I don't need
And
that.
I
The
think I
lace,
even have
the
one
lace
of,
is cool, but it'll get in my way.
I think I even have one of Tyler's McDonald's ones from way
Oh,
back
you
in
can't
the
use
day.
that.
Why?
That's like a collectible item.
A collectible item?
Yeah, it's a part of his history. That needs to go in the Tyler box.
No, we have like 10 of them floating throughout the family because Tyler used to leave them at home and get to work with no apron. And there were a couple from Justine and Kate as well because Justine and Kate and Tyler all worked at McDonald's at some point.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, we're the keeper of the children and everybody's kids was all up in our house.
And Ted, you worked for McDonald's, you said, right?
That was like 30
How long ago, and what had changed, do you think?
Well, for one, the uniforms look so much better now.
Yeah.
Mine was rust.
Oh. Was that in the 70s?
No. 80s.
80s?
Early.
He's not
80s.
that old. Jeez.
Well, he could have been a teenager.
I was.
He was a teenager in the 80s.
I was 16, 17, 18.
Oh.
How old do you think my dad is? This is your best friend. You should know.
Honey,
these
I'm
things.
too tired for
He's
math.
not that much older than
68, right? Not age, year.
No, 64.
64. The Walking Ted was born in 64.
you. No, my dad was born in 1964. The Walking Ted was born in 2000.
Hey, people were shouting out to Ted. I thought that was awesome. They recognized him from his previous work on.
Because I'm con famous.
Yes.
I remember like that one time Stella got Facebook famous and she was like, oh my God, somebody put my picture on in a web.
Who?
Stella. She had a picture with David on the internet.
Is that Kevin Baldinger joined? Our friend.
Well, the ambient is kicking in. See you guys tomorrow along with Santa Frankenstein. And Kyle Paxton says, get one like used in American Horror Story and goggles.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could do like the rain poncho gear like American Psycho.
No, too hot in Florida.
Christian Bear.
Bale. And
I'm
in
starting
case
to
I miss you, Kevin Baldinger, hello. I met him at the last the last one we went to, the World Sports Alumni. He's a great guy too. Get to meet so many neat people with what we do. And I'm not a sports guy. I mean, take one look at me and you know I wasn't a sports guy, but our mutual friend Bruce invited me in because they have an entertainment division now, and we've been friends for a while. I met him through a charity as well, through my head is having a brain fart again. But that was what the heck was it? It It was for breast cancer. I can't remember the name of it now, but we helped them out in 104.1, and my buddy Dale invited me on because I did makeup, and his wife and he bid on it, and they won, and I got to do makeup on her. And then flash forward, and we're friends since. And if Bobby is still out there, this is the real beauty coat. This is where we take what we just put on there as it goes into the leathery state, and we take our brush and we clean up all of the lines.
So he can make it pretty.
Paint happy little trees on it. And it's just that easy. And the slight texture in here is not so bad that it's going to tear up your hands. But it does give you a little bit more grip on it. Okay.
Hey!
Sorry.
These are my favorite jeans.
And you wore them into the shop.
Because you forced me to come out here, you bird turd.
I forced you? Okay. So we still have little crumbs and stuff like that, but those are getting sanded away slowly but surely. And that is our beauty coat. So when next we see each other, my friends, we will attack the front. So we'll have to take the clay walls that we have off. We're going to leave everything else intact. Try to gently turn this around, and then we can hopefully lay it down to where we can get it poured straight in, do a proper splash coat on the front. But that is the marathon of today. So brushes down. What do we got here? Oh gosh. I like you, Kyle. But anyway, guys, we are done for the night. We have side A, side B. This is cool. This is not. Still cooling down. We have the front that we will turn it around, flip it over, and get that done tomorrow. So we'll probably reposition the camera where you can see the front. And that is it from Casa de la Fenster for now. So thank you guys very much for hanging out all day, and tomorrow will be the wrap-up for it. So we will see you then. Like us, share us, tell people about Gill-A-Bration, and hopefully we can make this a memorable event.
And we will always take your money if you want to send us some.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Go ahead and hit end live video.
The live video.
Good night, everyone.